Good morning and welcome to Wisdom Wednesday podcast with your host, Dr. Mary Segars. I'm so glad you're joining me because we're going to talk about something that's very important to all of us. But you know the drill. Grab your coffee cup. Maybe you want water or juice. Let me take a good sip of my coffee that my husband brewed for me. So good. And join in on the conversation. I am so glad you're here with us today because I want to welcome you back, dear listeners, to another episode of Wisdom Wednesday podcast. And I'm your host, Dr. Mary Segars. And today, Wednesday, September the 24th, 2025, we're going to dive into a topic that touches all of our lives: change. Change is as constant as the sunrise. Yet why is it that we often find ourselves resisting it? We resist change. So let's explore together today how we can not only accept change, but welcome it with open arms. And I'm going to share my screen so I can illustrate what I'm trying to share with you today. Let's first talk about understanding change. Change is going to happen whether we like it or not. Winter is going to come soon. We can't do nothing about it. Or perhaps you can move and change your environment, right? Winter is coming just like fall is here now. The leaves are turning beautiful colors, and we all have to get out there and rake our leaves. And I remember when I was younger, we used to rake the leaves and burn the leaves. We don't do that anymore. But change is something that is part of our fabric in our lives, right? It is the essence of growth. It's the foundation of new beginnings and the path to our evolution. Yet it's human nature to seek comfort, to cling to the familiar, and to fear the unknown. That's just human nature. But what if I told you that change is not the enemy, but a friend? And a friend that will push us out of our comfort zone, that will give us encouraging words that we can do it, we can do it, we can do all things. It challenges us to grow. I could almost assure that you are not the same person you were last year. You learn some new things. You learn AI. You learn how to play paddleball or whatever it is. We're always changing and learning and new things and challenge us to grow. And it leads us to discover new horizons. So let's talk about why we resist change so much. The hardest part of change for many of us is the fear of the unknown. We just we don't know and don't want to know sometimes, right? So we resist it. We buckle against it. Say, no, 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 I'm fine. I'm good. I'm good. Why we worry about what we might lose rather than what we might gain. Sometimes losing friendships that add no more value to you and embracing new friends. Sometimes that can be very daunting. But if you reach out, you'll never know what you can gain. But if you don't change, right? But there's one thing: change will happen with or without our consent. It's going to happen. And the seasons will turn, life will evolve, and we have the power to decide whether we will be passive spectators or active participants in our own lives. I want to encourage you: change is not as bad as you think it is. So we need to just step out. I call it step out in faith a lot of times, just to trust God. If He's telling us to move or to do different things that we've never done before, that's going to take us a lot of faith to step out and try something new and change, right? So, how can we make change seamless? Because I was like, oh no, here we go. I learn something new. I do something different. I just want to pause right here. Change will happen for certain. Like I said, whether we embrace it or accept it or not. But here's the point. Here's the thing. Why not have an open mind, an open heart, a openness to say, well, you know what? I'm gonna try it. I can remember. Well, it was seemed like it wasn't that long ago. I wanted to always get my doctorate degree. Like I said, I got to pay the tuition. I got to go to school. I got the hours may not be what I want. I mean, I just had all these objectives why I couldn't do it, right? I retired early. I had opportunity to retire really early. And so I said, now I have the time. So you can't make that excuse anymore, Mary. So time's going to go on anyway. So as it's going on, do the things that you want to do. Make a change in your life. And so I went 3 days a week sometimes, weekends, writing papers, doing dissertation. But guess what? I was finding myself making a change. I was transitioning, learning new things, meeting new people, had an opportunity to talk with my professors. I mean, it was just a wonderful experience that I would never have had I not decided to change and do something different. So I just want to challenge you. We just need to step out and exchange can be seamless. I think the hardest thing about change is changing our mindset. I call what I call a fixed mindset. This is where I am. This is where I'm going to be. And that's the stubbornness of not willing to change. But I always like to say I have what I call an abundant mindset. When I'm opening up, it reminds me of that prayer of Jabez. He said, increase my territory. And if we have that kind of a mindset, it's going to be expansive. It's going to be abundant. It's going to be much more than we can even think or imagine. So change, like I said, we need to embrace it. We need to accept it. And we need to make it seamless as possible in our lives. So how do we make change seamless in our lives? It starts with acceptance. Accepting that change is a natural part of life. Because if you accept it, you have an openness to understand and receive, right? And so it's like the seasons. I keep talking about our seasons where I'm in Michigan, and of course, the fall leaves are beautiful on the trees. But wait, another month or so, they're going to be on the ground, on the grass, and we have to rake those up. But nevertheless, that's part of that season. It's part of what make it fall, right? The leaves. So we must learn to flow with the cycle of changes. And when I think about the cycle of changes, I worked for many years in a corporate environment in the automotive industry. And they had cyclical years. They knew when to do the changeover. No more of these model years, let's say 2025 models. They had to stop making them. There are enough in the lot that they want people to buy, but they had to do the changeover in the factory so the new models can be made 2026. So even in our workplace, there's changes. Even in our lives, there's changes. So change is a part of who we are. So I'm going to talk about five easy, I'm calling them easy or seamless ways that we can make change seamless. And so let me just get back with you here. Number one is acknowledging your feelings. Sometimes we mask that, okay, I'll do it, I'll make the change, But even something as simple as your church service might have changed its time. You were used to an 11 o'clock service, right? And now they said, oh, we're going to, since COVID, a lot of people went either hour early or hour later, depending on their situation. And so you do it, but you don't have the right mindset or the right attitude with the change. So acknowledge your feelings. It's okay to feel uncertain or scared. Okay, we're human. Acknowledge those feelings without judgment. I've never gone to a 8 o'clock service before. I've never, whatever it is, acknowledge how you feel about the change. I know again, in my work experience, we had a department called change management. And so GM was doing some changes, and we had to inform our executives all the way to the the person on the factory line about the changes that it's going to come down the pipeway. And change can't always be suddenly. You got to gradually allow change and make adjustments. So that's why it's called change management. How do you manage change? And first of all, by acknowledging your feelings without any judgment. Yeah, I'm scared about this. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I remember when I first went traveling. I love to travel, and I've traveled a lot in the United States and a lot of cruises. So we went to different places, but I never been out of the quote country. And I can remember when I went over to Sydney, Australia, down under. I mean, I was like, I don't know. But I had stepped out in faith and I said, I'm going to enjoy this experience. I've never been here before. I'd love to go back again, witnessing the Sydney um, stuff that I saw there. I'll always be a part of who I am. And so we got to allow and acknowledge our feelings, number one. Number two, seek the positive in change. Change often opens the door to new opportunities. Look for the silver lining, the potential for growth and new experiences. I mean, because you get tired of the status quo. I know I do. Same old, same old. And sometimes change will spark that fire in us, will spark that excitement in us, excite that curiosity in us, excite that newness in us. And sometimes we just need to get off that couch, turn that TV off, and do something different. Maybe you want to take some exercise classes. Is that a new change for you? I don't know. But I try to keep very active. I try to go 3 days a week. And when I miss a couple days, when I go back with my group there, Mary, where you been? We missed you. And I feel welcome. I feel like, yeah, I belong here. I made a change in my life. And I've seen the impact of that change by exercising, eating right, drinking water, even change in what we do in our diets will make a difference in our lives, right? Maybe you say, I'm going to change this quarter. No longer I do. I want to smoke cigarettes or whatever. Whatever it is, you want to have a change in your health care. So we always change. So always seek the positive in any change. Because if you come, I don't know, I don't know, that's not going to work. You already set it down for failure. So acknowledge your feelings, number one. Seek the positive in any change that's going to come about. And number three, take small steps. I say take baby steps. I love Dave Ramsey. I know when he was saying with the financial guru, he's a financial guru. I love him. And he would always say the baby steps. Number one, save emergency funds of $1,000. And so you're taking baby steps, being financially stable. You're taking financial steps of learning how to get out of debt. And so we got to start at a small level because sometimes change would be so overwhelming, it's frightening. It could be so overwhelming, it's daunting. And it could be so overwhelming that it's negative in our mind, right? So change doesn't have to be overwhelming. It doesn't have to be daunting. Break it down into manageable steps. What's one small thing you can do today to embrace change? You might say, I'm going to learn how to get up earlier, just to get up and have meditation and prayer. It's not going to happen by you just saying it. Maybe I'm going to set the alarm. I'm going to ask God to wake me up early so I can spend some time reading the word, praying, making sure I focus on my day. So sometimes we just got to take those baby steps, take those incremental baby steps. And before you know it, the change has happened and you're there. All right. And number four, stay flexible. Be open to adjusting your course. Sometimes the path of change isn't linear, and that's okay. We have some hiccups in life, right? Things may not be the way we want. Don't get upset about that. Have you ever seen somebody get upset over the littlest things? It's like, get over it. Get over it. There's much more important things that we can be concerned about. I'm sorry, I want to excuse me about the dings that's happening. Normally, I don't get calls or texts during this time, but of course, because I'm online, it's happening. So I'm adjusting to that change as you'd excuse all the interruptions. But listen, Stay flexible. And what I mean by that is allowing for mishaps, misunderstandings, a change that you didn't expect, and allow to be flexible. Because when you're flexible, you can move and pivot if you need to. We're studying, I'm a BSF group leader, and we're studying um, exile and the return about Israelites when they were in exile and how God returned them back. And so, one scripture we were talking about is in Ezekiel. He was designated to be the priest, and yet he was in exile, not in his own land. And then God came to him and said, "Okay, Ezekiel, I want you to be a prophet now." And so, seeing that, he had to pivot. He had studied and prepared his life to be a priest. He was in the priesthood. And yet, God wanted him at that time in his life. He was 30 years old, is in Ezekiel 36. He wanted him to be a prophet to God's people, the Israelites. You talking about a change of occupation, a change that you had not even envisioned in your heart. But Ezekiel was obedient because he heard from the Lord. And that's talking about being flexible. You may have your agenda of doing this, this, and this. And God said, I see your heart, and I want you to be able to do this and that. And I'll give you everything that you need to be able to do that. So sometimes that's why you got to be flexible and be open to receive new things that you didn't expect. And so I can use my example. I thought I was going to retire, at the 62, but an opportunity came along. I was able to retire at 55 and never looked back. And God said, "You're ready. You're prepared. I got everything ahead of you. I know what's going about, what's going to happen to you ahead of you." And so to retire at 55, I think that's pretty doggone good. And I love the flexibility that I have. But was that in my plans? No, it wasn't. But it was the perfect timing to do what I know I needed to do at that time in my life. So you got to be flexible because change is not always linear. You get a hiccup, you come back down, you go back on the curve, all around. If you ever driven on the mountains, I remember our family reunion. We went down to Atlanta, and my husband and I were driving. Now we fly, okay, but back then we were driving. I mean, driving through those mountains and the curves, and I mean, so many changes. And so we have to learn how to be flexible. The fifth thing I'm going to remind you about is how to embrace change. Build your support system. Surround yourself with people, genuine people who support you and encourage you. Because you have a strong network can make navigating change so much easier. But if you're around people who's very negative, that's not supporting you, that's going to be a hard course to make that change. So when you have a great support system, I promise you, the change is going to be so much easier. I'm not saying it's not going to be challenging. 'Cause I don't know if you're like me. I love challenges. And so challenges pushes me, shows that I have a lot of resilience. I have a lot of stamina and I have a lot of energy to do what I know I need to do. And so we need to make sure that who we are around, they're going to support us, encourage us. They may not always agree with what we say. They're not going to be a yes person, but they will say, you know what? I encourage you to do that. If that's what you feel led to do. I'm gonna be behind you. I'm gonna give you I'm gonna be your best cheerleader. And so we need people who's gonna help us make this change, that transition. When the decision to step in a new career, that's gonna be something that you need to, you need support people to make sure that you're gonna do it and you're gonna do it well. And I want to encourage you to be also that good support person. We're always looking for someone to support us, but are you supporting someone? That reciprocity principle really works, and it starts right here about change. So, in my conclusion, I hope you got something out of this. Change is not just something to be encountered, it's something to be celebrated. It's an opportunity, like I said, to grow. And I love to grow because if you're not changing and growing, you're in actuality, you're dying, you're regressing. And so we need to always continue to change, to grow, to learn, and to become more resilient. You know, that bounce back attitude. I didn't make it the first time, but you know what? I'm going to make sure I did it. I'll do it again. I know when I learned pickleball about 4 or 5 years ago during the pandemic, right after the pandemic, I guess. And where I worked at as a realtor, our broker said, you know, I'm gonna pay for the to play pickleball. And I said, "Oh, great!" I was like myself and a few other realtors. We were out there. We had a ball, and we were on teams, and we were just playing. So I had to learn something. I had to be resilient, even though I kept missing that ball. I guess I'm gonna learn this thing. I'm gonna do this thing, right? So as we move forward, let's not resist change. Instead, let's lean into it. I'm leaning into it. Embrace it and see where it can take us. It's going to take us to new horizons, new experiences, new places, new people. And remember, you are capable of adapting and thriving in new circumstances. I do believe that. I believe that you can do it. So change is your chance to write a new chapter in the story of your life. You know, I'm a publisher and I'm an author. I love to write new chapters in my life. And mentioning that, I am writing on my own solo book, basically just saying walk the talk. You know, I so often hear people do the talking and convincing, but I want to see you walk that talk out. So that's what I'm convinced of. I want to walk my talk. I'm not just chit-chatting. I'm doing what I said I'm going to do. And sometimes we need to do it more so before we even say we're going to do it. Just do it. And then let the people talk about what we've done. Okay. So write a new chapter in your life by changing your life, your attitude, your mindset, your position, your disposition, all of that. Change is so needed in our world. We need more love. We need more kindness. We need more understanding. We need no more judgment about others. You know, the Bible said we judge ourselves first. You know, let's look in that mirror first. And I always said, Lord, I want to make sure that everything that I do is pleasing unto you. And so thank you for joining me on this journey of embracing change. Until next time, keep growing, keep thriving, keep evolving. And remember this that Dr. Mary said this every day is an opportunity to transform and change your life. Be blessed. We'll see you next month. God bless you.